All right, welcome back to Heads and Tails. I'm one of the co-founders at Oppidan, Henry Faber, and I'm really privileged and very grateful to have Su Wijeratne with me today. Su's currently head of Latymer Upper School, which is barely 100 yards from where I'm sitting now, so I'm slightly ashamed that we've not got this one happening in person. Latymer Upper, everyone will know about that. It's 400 years this year of the school's anniversary. Pretty incredible. I've spotted it on Su's lanyard as well. Su was, aside from that, the first woman to become Lower Master at Eton College. Must have been a fascinating role and a position to take on in a school of even more than 400 years. She began her teaching career at Epsom, I believe. She's also spent time at St Benedict's, St Paul's Girls' School in London, where she was deputy head. I know that she's chair of governors at St Stephen's, C of E Primary School in Hammersmith, and she's a governor and chair of the academic committee at the Royal Ballet School, which must be a fascinating organisation to work with. So really grateful to have you with us and excited to get a few insights from today. Thank you, Su.
Thanks for having me, Henry.
That's all right. You know, we're mad about mentoring. Everything that happens in this building down the road from you is all about mentorship. So I'd love to just ask for a few thoughts on your perspective on mentoring, whether you had a mentor yourself, whether you have one now.
Yes, I would say that I've had a lot of influential people in my life in a way, and I've been really lucky to work under some inspirational heads, and they have definitely provided mentorship for me along the way. I also really believe in mentoring. I'm currently part of a women in mentoring program as well, so looking to mentor male leaders and mentoring them hopefully into senior leadership positions. But probably the most influential mentor that I've had in my life was my dad. He was a head for 20 years and actually appointed me, gave me my first job. And I think headship's changed a lot in the time since he was a head, but he's definitely been a constant in challenging me and helping me learn from him. And he would be the key mentor for him.
Lovely. Perhaps we can go back to when you were at school, even before that first position. What were you like at school? Maybe there's an anecdote that can help us understand what younger Su was like and how that's formed your impressions of education today.
Yeah, younger Su, probably there's quite a lot of anecdotes that perhaps are best not told. But yes, I certainly was somebody who liked to sort of stretch the rules a little bit at times, which is always good because it helps in understanding now when you're dealing with young people who may be stretching the rules themselves.
So was it a surprise to you that you kind of became interested in education then, based on that slight naughtiness or the teenage Su?
Big surprise, and probably big surprise to my father. But when you have a mother who's a teacher and a father who's a headmaster, it's probably the last thing you're actually going to do. But then it's just one of those things that happened, and I realised that I absolutely loved it. And just having that opportunity to be able to influence the lives of young people is just so brilliant that I was hooked.
I think it's a nice point you made there about that kind of initial expectation and breaking the boundary of what that is. As I mentioned to you, my father is a head teacher, and when he first told me he was taking the role and actually didn't have a background in education himself, I was so shocked, not just that they would hire him with his lack of experience, but actually that he wanted to go work in a school. I thought, why on earth would you want to do that? And it's taken a few years to see, but it's dragged me into education as well, not so much from a teaching and learning perspective, but I guess sitting in a slightly shadow position alongside that. So I totally empathize with that. And I'm sure a lot of people would sit on that side of the graph, surprised at finding themselves sitting in this kind of a sector or a line of work.
Profession. Yeah, brilliant profession, and one that people should be afraid of.
Very good. Tough moments. You've had an amazing career trajectory, amazing institutions, organizations you've been lucky to work at and have clearly done brilliant things with. It can't have always been easy. Maybe there's a toughest moment or some of those challenges that you're happy to face.
Yeah, I mean, I was involved a lot with the pastoral side of Median School, and some of those have been some of the hardest challenges you have when you're dealing with some really upsetting things with children, maybe with parents, maybe with staff as well. And you have to learn to compartmentalize things and put things in certain parts of your brain and not go there. So that's something I've had to develop over time, particularly with that, that pastoral emphasis. But I think just sort of thinking about actual examples of where I felt really pressured. There was a time when we all went through COVID together, and I was running the machine that is Eton at the time, and I was working with a brilliant team of people to give the boys the best possible opportunity they could as we kind of transitioned from a school which is a full boarding school, 7-day boarding school, to suddenly not having any boys there and being online. And we did that brilliantly. But then when they all came back in the September, we had a period of about 4 or 5 weeks where we were managing things on the ground. And then we discovered through a series of PCR testing that we had an outbreak of COVID in one of the blocks and one of the year groups. And Public Health England came in and sent all 250 boys from that year home. And I just felt absolutely crushed and so disappointed for them, because they just come back and then suddenly they had to go again. And it wasn't just the team that had COVID, it was a whole lot. And it was just, I just felt so disappointed for them and their families and all their teachers having to go back online with them. So that was probably one of the more challenging and most disappointing moments I think I've had in my career.
And I suppose in some ways you felt like it was out of your control. It wasn't something you could ever have a say in what the result was, but to provide consistency for those boys or for students in general at a time like that must have been the greatest frustration, I would imagine.
Yeah. And that's absolutely right. We had no control over it, no sort of sweet talk in public health at the time. That was it. And actually trying to get them back in some of the early days of testing then, we were trying to sort of work with people trialing things as a way to get them back. That was actually before we had all the lateral flow tests, but they were kind of out there. And we just couldn't quite make that work to get them back any earlier. But it was very frustrating.
Well, from those grisly, horrible memories that I'd somehow shut out of the back of my mind to the peaks, there must be an Everest or two that you feel you've climbed along the way. Has there ever been a moment of like real satisfaction or gratification, or is it more layered and nuanced?
Yeah, I mean, there've been lots along the way. I've had just the most exciting career, and I couldn't have asked for better opportunities. But actually, it's really weird, because probably one of my real high moments was actually linked to COVID as well. Because I remember this point where we sent all the boys home before actually the schools had shut down nationally. And Simon came into my office, and I was kind of pretty exhausted. And he said, "How much energy have you got?" And I said, "Well, what have you got in mind?" And he said, "Well, I'm thinking, let's open some boarding houses for key workers. What about local primary schools, etc." So anyway, we hatched this plan of becoming a local primary school hub for all the schools in the local area who only had 1 or 2 children with key workers or vulnerable children. And so we opened our own sort of little mini COVID school, so that all those schools didn't have to open for those vulnerable children and key worker children. And it was honestly one of the most gratifying things that I'd done, and I loved it every single day. I would go up, and there's these little primary school children who got to know me, and they were having a ball. And they called me Miss Sue, which was a change from Ma'am. And it was just wonderful. We opened up 3 or 4 houses to key workers, and we really, really felt as a school that we were doing our bit to support the local community. So I think that's probably, weirdly, going from one of my greatest lows to actually being one of my greatest highs. Something I'm really proud of.
How funny that there's this period of history that we all have such positives and negatives from. I mean, I'm sure comparatively we've been incredibly lucky, but working at the coalface in a school like that, of a size like that, with the magnifying glass on you at all times, must have been a thrill for good and bad, I can imagine. I'm keen to ask a little bit about content. So some people read a lot, some people listen a lot, some people watch a lot. What kind of a content person are you? And perhaps you could take us a little further down that with some ideas you've got of things you might like to share.
Yeah, I mean, I think the moments that I get to read or to watch films or whatever, I kind of tend to do as an escape route. So rather than sort of immersing myself in reading about education so much, I tend to build into my day. I would always recommend that people who are in quite high pressure senior leadership jobs actually try to take the time to take themselves out of what they do as well. So my reading or my film watching is often like taken somewhere else. So I've got a favorite book, for example, it would be something like Rohingya Mysteries: A Fine Balance, which I read in a sabbatical term between jobs when I was traveling around Ecuador. Although it's a book, a sort of dynastic book about India. When it was under a state of emergency. So it's a sort of slight mix of being in one country but reading about another. And for me, I'm a geographer as well. So I love stories that sort of are evocative of the places that they're set in. But I'm somebody who likes to take myself out of my job when I do reading. So, and I think that's really important. You need to have something that takes you away and creates a different environment for you.
No, I love that.
As a geographer, I'm a big fan of Tim Marshall as well, and his books. So it'll plug for him there. I do make sure that I keep up with my geography as well, because
I've not got past Prisoners of Geography yet. I read that, but I know there are lots of other ones, aren't there? So might have to delve deeper. And you're not the first person to say that about The Escape, and I'm totally with you. I think there's always this temptation of like, oh, I've got an hour in the evening, I need to read something that's going to benefit me or educate me, and actually I'm going to take from this the need to write into my day actually time to educate and upskill myself if it's reading that's required for my job or for my career. And I think that escape then feels even naughtier and even more lovely as a result. So yeah,
they're very good for you as well.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody else the other day we interviewed just said, yeah, I'm really into spy novels, like 1960s spy novels. I was like, great, me too. That's exactly what I want to be doing on my summer holiday, not thinking about educational business management. That's great. Thank you. That's really helpful. Controversial or unpopular opinion. We always ask this, and it's a really tricky one. It's the little bit of the hot potato, and it's kind of up to you as to how readily you engage with that. But I'd love to know if you think there is something that perhaps is a little bit more on the edge or may have people who disagree with you that you're happy to share with us.
Well, there's a few I could mention perhaps, but I think one of the things that we're doing at Latymer is, and you may have picked up on this, is that we are moving away from the traditional middle school curriculum, and we are in 2027, our year 10s will be starting a new curriculum where they will only at the end of it be taking maths and English GCSE. So we're writing our own curriculum. We're passionate believers in curriculum reform and the need to reform curriculum at that age. Our students are probably the most over-examined students in the world at that age. And they're just, for me, they're losing out on an awful lot of learning time as well. And I feel like I'm qualified to say that now because my eldest daughter sat her GCSEs last year, and watching her going from, in some subjects, finishing her courses even towards the end of the autumn term, so by Christmas 2022, and then sort of coming back to mock exams, going over mock exams, doing repeat papers, regular learning, and then spending virtually the whole summer term either not in school revising or in school doing her exams. I saw a 15, 16-year-old child in many subjects not learning any new content for the best part of 9 months, from December 22 to September 23. And I just think that students' brains are like sponges at that age. They can learn so much, and so much that will benefit them going into A-level courses, degree apprenticeships, and employment beyond. And I feel that we're missing a trick there. So we have made the bold decision. It's years of research, and we're part of obviously the rethinking assessment and so on piece. We worked with Lord Baker and his Lords Committee in the autumn term as well, and supported the report that they produced in November, December of last year, which is really supportive of curriculum reform. And it's slightly ironic that Lord Baker was one of the people who set up GCSEs. It's very much arguable against it. But we're being bold. Latymer have always been at the forefront of education thinking and innovation, and that is what we are doing. But it does divide opinion, because some people think that we should be sticking with examining through GCSEs, and everybody should be on this level platform.
Thank you. It's super exciting. I mean, to push that a little further, can I ask, do you feel confident that a lot of schools will follow? Do you feel like this could be the beginning? Is there that sense of excitement that others will roll in behind you and go where you?
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly working with a number of school leaders, both in the independent and state sector, who really, really believe in this passionately. So I do believe that some in the independent sector will go. We've got allies as well, like Meadales and so on, who have moved in this direction already. And what I would like is for us to be a voice in the national picture, which we are already. We have been with the Lord's Education Committee as well. And I would like to see us potentially working with the next government to influence where sort of testing and assessment and education curriculum goes at that age as we move forwards. So yeah, I definitely think there are some independent school leaders who perhaps are waiting to see what happens with us, but are very keen on doing it. But we won't be able to shift the national debate until, that would have to be wholesale. So that's where we want to be.
Well, let's hope whatever that next government looks like, they have the growth mindset to work and to innovate with partners like you guys. I think, not that you need another fan, but over-assessment is a big theme here. And I'm a big fan of assessment in the right ways, but test, not so much. And I think...
And our students will still be assessed, but they'll be assessed in different ways through presentations, vibers, and it will be much better for the skills that they will take.
100% believe with you. So I'm going to counter and say it shouldn't be an unpopular opinion. It should be a very popular opinion, but let's see. I'm sure we'll all be judged for these in the years to come. Yeah, no, but it's a lovely, it's a really meaningful topic, and I hope we can have the chance to chat about it again at more length when time allows, because it's so important. And I think you guys are doing great stuff. So to finish on one final piece of advice, perhaps there's something over the years that you've come back to again and again, or you would be able to share as advice for someone developing a career in the sector.
Yeah, I would just say take the opportunities. If I look at what I've done, I very rarely said no, and it's slightly more in the days when I began my career where you'd get a kind of tap on the shoulder and say, do you want to run the DV, or do you want to run girls' games, or do you want to do whatever? And I just say yes, why not? And threw myself into lots of different things, and I didn't stay still. And that's not to disrespect anyone who stays in the same school or a couple of schools for their whole career. But I think my experience is richer by moving into different schools. And I don't actually think I would have had the opportunity I wouldn't have had some of the opportunities that I've had if I hadn't have had those different experiences. So I think my advice would be, throw yourself into everything when you can, but also don't be afraid. And people love the schools that they're in often, and they're quite afraid to leave them, but don't be afraid. You can always go back there later down the line, and don't be afraid to try different things. And those might be in that same school, but I also think be brave and go and try different things in different schools, and your career will be richer for it.
Excellent advice. Well, Sue, you've been really generous with your time. Super busy point in the year for you. We really appreciate it. And I know there'll be lots of little bits of wisdom here that will be of real value to people from across the sector who are interested in what you do. So big thank you. We wish you well for the summer, GCSEs, as long as they are there. And
They are this year.
Hope we see you very soon along the towpath enjoying some sunshine one evening.
Okay, thanks, Henry.
Thanks, Sue.